I am here today not because I want to be. I am terrified. I am here because I believe it is my civic duty to tell you what happened to me while Brett Kavanaugh and I were in high school. I was pushed onto the bed and Brett got on top of me. I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling. This is what terrified me the most and has had the most lasting impact on my life.
I'm not questioning that Dr. Ford may have been sexually assaulted by some person in some place at some time. But I have never done this to her or to anyone. That's not who I am. It is not who I was. I am innocent of this charge.
I believe her. Her story is credible if you listen to everything about it.
And given what we know of the accuser's political inclination and her support of left-wing causes, it's not unreasonable to believe that she has a political axe to grind.
We believe Dr. Blasey Ford! We believe women! We believe women!
I think all of us who watched that interview last night couldn't help but feel for the guy.
How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What neighborhood was it in? I don't know. Where's the house? I don't know.
This is Rachel,
Johnna, and Ayana, and you're listening to Belief and Blame, Dissenting Women in a Me Too Era.
That was a collection of sound bites, all relating to the Christine Blasey Ford and Brett Kavanaugh hearings that took place earlier this year. The first two were from Blasey Ford and Kavanaugh themselves, but the rest of them were clips of the media and the public's reaction to the allegations against Brett Kavanaugh and the Senate hearing that followed. This hearing was politicized and amplified in a way that makes it stand out from similar situations in the past. America was, once again, divided on the issue. There's speculation that this division is owed to the fact that we are living in a Me Too era. For anyone who doesn't know, the Me Too movement took off in 2017 when Hollywood actress Alyssa Milano tweeted an invitation for women to tell their stories of sexual harassment and assault online with the hashtag #MeToo. This was supposed to give skeptics an idea of the magnitude and prevalence of sexual misconduct and assault in American society. Milano did not create the movement, that would be Tarana Burke, but a lot of people took her up on her offer. Millions of women told their stories, ranging from subtle signs of gender oppression like catcalling or workplace harassment to stories of outright sexual assault. The movement extended to Hollywood, and it seemed like every day a new woman came out with an allegation that a man of authority and power had sexually harassed or assaulted her. It seemed like every time this movement grew, every time a woman tweeted support and recognition to her fellow women, something else happened. There was a growing wave of opposition, of people saying, well, what about the men? What if the women are lying? I don't believe her, or she's ruining his career. Some of the most damning criticism of the movement came from women themselves. That's what we're going to be looking at here today. Why has this become such a divisive issue? And why has the belief of women become so politicized? We interviewed 3 different women of different ages and political affiliations for this podcast.
I'm a registered Republican, but I'm basically independent. I'm a Democrat. I have been since I was registered when I was 18 years old.
I identify as a Republican.
Alright guys, this is Johnna here to talk more about the gender divide we didn't necessarily expect to see. Not a divide between gender, but a divide among gender.
It wasn't for sure it was him that done something. Mm-hmm. So it's easy for a female to accuse a male, just as it is you should believe a woman, but then she should also be able to have the facts in the background to prove that he, done it, instead of I think it was him. I had a couple of beers. You know, she just didn't seem truthful and forthcoming.
Probably so. I can't see. Now, in the case of getting back to Christine Ford, in her case, I can't see anything she would have benefited from wanting to go through what she went through if she didn't believe that he did something.
I mostly just, I guess, because I'm also like a woman, and I just like I could understand her, like coming from her perspective, like it's like it can be scary, like coming out against somebody like somebody who's like headed in this direction is like so powerful. And like,
This being said, we did of course choose to only include statements from fellow women, mainly because that's who this podcast is about, but also because we kind of expected women to all be on the same side, that being of women. And unfortunately, that's not the case.
Well, you talked about your Republican friends sort of going one way and you go the other. Have you noticed that from your Democratic friends or from yourself even, where you think...
Yeah, I think we do that too. I mean, it's just, I guess, natural. But it's because you are a Democrat or a Republican because you think the way the party does. So you're going to tend to lean toward that.
In an NPR episode of Morning Edition, the conversation in comparison of a party divide causing a gender divide laid out all the facts.
Good morning. So, not so surprising that the nation is divided on this, as it is on so many things. But what is really interesting here is where that divide falls, right?
Right. For all the talk about this as a woman's issue and a war on men, it turns out gender is actually less a driver here than party is. So, for example, we asked whether the benefit of the doubt in these cases should go to alleged victims. 85% of Democrats say yes, compared to 67% of Republicans. And that party divide is nearly twice the size of the gender gap. And we see a similar pattern on sexual harassment. That gap is actually widened in the past year, mostly because of shifting opinions among Republicans.
NPR's Tovia Smith, in further investigation, reports that while many see Me Too as a way for women to feel they're not alone, many still feel wary to support the movement, feeling it has gone too far.
I could see like some people seeing it as like, oh, they're just like jumping on a bandwagon. Like,
the divide creates skeptics, even among women, raising the question you wouldn't think we'd have to raise. Is she telling the truth? Or is Me Too just for attention?
That's what I've seen in some of my friends. All my friends that were Republicans, they sided with him. And I think that's where we have to be careful. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. You need to look at the facts and look at the case. And I think that's one of the things that people do, and that they're going to have to be careful. Yeah.
Well, why would politics even need to be involved with it?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, do you have an opinion on that?
I just don't think it's something that would be... It's not a political question, or it's not supposed to be a political agenda. It's supposed to be for women. Mm-hmm. So how does being Republican or Democrat, why does it even need to fit in there?
This is Rachel again. It makes sense for some women to be unaware of the political divide when it comes to believing or not believing women. After all, you don't want to think that your political party is what controls your every line of thought. And there are many other factors besides politics that may play a personal role in whether or not you believe someone or you don't. One of these factors is personal experience, and it doesn't always work in favor of the alleged victim.
A lot of women that it really happens to, they don't report it because they're ashamed, which they need to have the voice to report it. Mm-hmm. But they don't, because if you've ever been a victim of rape, it's not something you want to broadcast, or sexual harassment, so you don't broadcast it. You kind of depress it and put it down. So some of these that are coming out and saying things has happened to them, I don't know that if it really happened the way they said it would, that they would speak so freely about it.
Okay.
Because it takes a emotional toll on you that it makes a woman feel dirty, so they keep it a secret. They don't broadcast it.
Other women consider the testimony and the emotion displayed during it to be the truth because of the experience they have faced, which are similar.
Maybe because I'm a woman. Maybe because that I have seen through the years how many women have been, I don't want to say attacked, but approached with sexual contact and the woman not wanting it and trying to say no, women not wanting to make things public, years past, don't want to lose their jobs. And so I think it's been out there for so long that this has been going on that maybe that's the reason I think that women are more telling the truth than not.
But perhaps whether or not a woman believes other women is contingent on how a woman processes her own trauma or how others around her have processed their trauma.
This is Ayana speaking. Not only were women not being believed, they're being blamed as well. Victim blaming occurs when the victim of a crime or any wrongful act is held entirely or partially at fault for the harm that befell them. Victims are often asked what they are wearing during the situation. What did they do to encourage the person to make that action towards them? Or even why they didn't fight back more.
But younger women nowadays need to, I guess, protect themselves, but also not let themselves be in a, like, say you go to a frat party and there's 50 guys and 2 girls. As a female, you shouldn't get so drunk that you don't know what you're doing, that you have no idea of what's going on around you.
Women victim blame other women. They believe that it was their fault that they were sexually assaulted, sexually harassed, or that they did something to cause it to happen. But some women are not really aware that they are victim blaming.
Not that it would be the female's fault, because it's not. But you're not in your right mind. They're drunk, they're not in their right mind. So things can happen that neither one of you really meant to happen, but you're drunk.
One reason people blame a victim is to distance themselves from an unpleasant occurrence and thereby confirm their own invulnerability to the risk. By blaming or accusing the victim, others can see the victim as different from themselves. Victim blaming attitudes marginalize the survivor and make it harder to come forward and report the abuse. If the victim knows that someone or the society blames her for the abuse, she will not feel safe or comfortable coming forward and talking about it. Victim blaming attitudes also reinforce what the abuser has been saying all along, that it is the victim's fault that it is happening. By engaging in victim blaming attitudes, society allows the abuser to commit relationship abuse or sexual assault while avoiding accountability for his or her actions.